Welcome to the Hamumu Halloween Home Horror Hoedown, the podcast where we watch scary movies so you don't have to.
From award-winning to completely unknown, we take them all way too seriously.
I'm your host, Mike Hummel.
And I'm your host, Solange Hummel.
Now, warning, we use a ghoulish number of spoilers, so watch the movies first.
Second warning, we don't know anything about anything, so don't take us seriously as we take these movies seriously. It's Halloween! Or a few days after Halloween because 2024 is chaos.
And for you guys, I think it's the 1st of December or something. It's way
Merry Christmas!
out there. Merry Christmas, it's a Halloween roundup.
Yes, we are doing the annual Halloween roundup because not only do we watch horror movies every week, but on Halloween.
And also for a week before Halloween.
Mike just binges every horror movie he can just pour into his eyeballs.
Yeah, I like to pour things into my eyeballs.
And I feel like the Halloween roundup is more frequently the worst movies you can find.
Well, because I don't want to watch good movies without you is the real issue.
Aww.
But this year, specifically, I have chosen to theme the collection.
Oh, do tell.
This year's theme is movies I found on Tubi, which are found footage almost exclusively, but not quite, but I tried.
Is Tubi free?
Tubi is free with ads. You guys can all watch all these movies right now unless some of them have left the platform.
And I'm aware that what just happened sounds very much like an ad or like a setup of some kind. Where Tubi doesn't know about us or care about us or probably want us talking about them.
Well, especially because these are terrible movies. The reason I picked Tubi is because I know really bad movies collect on there, like mold in the corners. And
some imagery.
I want to say, like, when I went into their horror category, I was like having trouble at first because I'm like, oh, wait, these are good movies. So they have a lot of big time quality movies.
But if you look into the corners.
Yeah, you got to dig into the margins and you will find things that are Bad Ben-esque and Anna the Doll, Girls Eating Plates of Vegetables-esque. You'll find it all.
Which, to be fair, have been some of our favorite movies.
That's what I'm hoping to find.
Okay. I, on the other hand, watched very few horror movies this week because I have been dealing with the real life horror of the election cycle.
That is much worse.
Dun, dun, dun.
One of these days, I'm going to share info on what the ballot board is because people don't know it exists. And if they did know, they would feel more secure in their elections because it's a great thing. Everyone should go work on it.
Agreed. And I'm jokingly saying the horror. I actually really love being on the ballot board because it does make me feel more confident in the election process. You know, you hear so many things about how chaotic and easily manipulated and disrupted the voting process, and particularly early voting is. And
yeah, and everybody's like, mail-in ballots, those are terrible. Nope.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
The very first time that I did ballot board, I was like, oh, no, this process is really, really secure.
Yeah, there's so many eyes on everything, and it goes back and forth. So people check it and recheck it, and people check those people's work.
And shout out to Bell County. Bell County has one of the better early voting ballot board systems in the state, I think. So, like, it's good. It's a positive thing to be a part of or to like fulfill my civic duty in that way. So anyway, that's what I've been doing all week while you've been watching scary movies.
Yeah, I'm an alternate on the ballot board, so I just never got called in the whole week, and it was a delight.
So it was a Halloween surprise special gift for you.
Yes, so I filled my time with more than usual scary movies, a total for you all to hear about of 15 movies.
Okay, so
we got to work fast.
Let's dig in. I heard your first movie was #MissingCouple from 2024. Good, Bad, ugly? Tell us about it.
Tubi, so it's bad. But this one seemed interesting at first. It stars an actual influencer couple from like TikTok, and you could look them up on TikTok. They're still making videos.
As themselves?
As themselves.
Okay.
And they're not really popular. They don't have millions of followers, but they're there. So the beginning of this movie is like real TikTok videos. They're dumb, but just like real TikTok videos. They're like, ooh, look at our new cabin we're getting, because that's the thing. They get this cabin and they move in and they find some creepy things. So what's fun about it and kind of cool is the beginning of it is very saccharine and dumb, but you can sense that something went wrong. And then we kind of get into this other guy's videos as he, is going out there to be like, these people disappeared. What happened? And he uncovers the footage they didn't post to social media where things really went wrong. And so it seems like it's going to be really interesting. And then it opens the door for a potential twist because there's questions about some things. Not to spoil anything. And then in the end, nothing is explained and it goes nowhere.
That's fun.
Isn't that great?
Was this a full-length movie?
As movies in this particular marathon go, this was particularly long at 93 minutes.
Okay.
Because a lot of these movies are an hour or less.
So lots of buildup, lots of potential?
I thought maybe it could do something.
Okay, but no follow-through.
No, I would say I still have no idea what happened. I don't recommend this. I will give it 1 peanut butter cup out of 5.
Ooh, 1. Okay. So not starting off on a strong foot.
We're like a centipede of broken legs.
So for the next movie, you went back a couple years to Beyond the North Woods. From 2022. This movie feels like it might be something I could relate to. Was it good in that sense?
I believe I paused it at the beginning to test you because I chose this movie for a reason, and I had the starting scene, and I asked you if you recognized it.
Oh, I do remember you calling me in and being like, "Do you recognize this place?" Well, obviously I was like, well, clearly I'm supposed to recognize this. So it's somewhere that I know. And I looked and I immediately saw a bridge that made it very clear that we were on the hill overlooking Lake Superior and the city of Duluth, Minnesota.
Indeed. This is a movie that takes place in Duluth, which is why I picked it just for you.
That's fun.
Unless otherwise specified, I have to note all these movies are found footage. I will definitely let you know when we come across one that is not.
Okay.
Also, unless otherwise specified, the acting in the movie is very bad. And this is a particularly notably bad one.
This one definitely felt like it was a group of friends who just, decided to throw together a quick film.
Yeah. In this one, of course, there's some legend about what's going on in the woods, and they head into the woods to investigate the legend with their cameras, and they end up going in with a forest guide, a park ranger or whatever, who's very perky about the whole thing until they get mysteriously lost, even though they're with a park ranger, and of course, they can't get out. And despite how that sounds, this movie has an interesting premise, and it goes places with it, and those places involve one scene, which is probably the worst acting in this entire 15 movies. It's hilarious. But if you could get past that, what is actually going on is very interesting. And it's like, ooh, what's happening? And of course, as usual, it doesn't come together in the end, but it's a clever idea and it gets interesting and curious, kind of cosmic horror kind of thing. But overall, very boring. So much walking through the woods and nothing happening. And really nothing. This movie has shots where it's them, talking about how they're going to do the interview for 5 minutes and then doing an interview with a park ranger about this fictional situation for 5 minutes. And there's nothing interesting about it. It's clear, as it is in many of these movies, that they knew they had to fill a movie-length runtime despite not having that much to say.
Yeah.
And so they just filmed everything and used whatever.
Well, it also sort of felt like, how you get a book that's an author writing about what it's like to be an author. And like they're
Stephen
much
King.
more fascinated by the process than anyone else is.
Yeah.
This felt like that. Like they were so interested in the process of making this documentary that they were making. And we were all like, nobody wants to know this.
Yeah.
I was not watching this movie. I was just listening to it while I did other things. I feel like I heard more people walking through leaves and snow than I have heard in my whole life. And I literally lived in Minnesota and walked in the woods.
I mean, it would go on for 2 minutes of just silently walking through a bunch of leaves.
Yep.
And this is, I should note, a 67-minute movie. Hour and 7 minutes.
It felt longer.
Yeah, it did.
I do think, though, I agree with you that the premise was interesting. And I think had it been worked a little more, and like it's the kind of story that needs to be very specifically told in order for it to work. But it's an interesting idea.
Yes. If professionals made this movie, I would be into it. I think you could really do something, and they had a very clever idea. And for that reason, we're going to award 2 peanut butter cups out of 5.
Delightful. So tasty.
Despite the so bad acting.
So we move from the North Woods to your next movie, Live Scream, from 2018.
From the North Woods to Twitch is where we move.
Oh, fantastic.
This is a movie about streaming video games. And of course, he has sent the link to an evil video game called Live Scream. And by the way, there is a video game called Live Scream, totally unrelated to this movie. And so he's just going to stream the game. But of course, then the game traps him and his viewers, and who will survive in this terrifying, so scary game. And it was fun to see, like, I want to say parodies, but they're not meant to be funny, even though they kind of are, of, you know, popular, well-known horror games. Like there's a little Five Nights at Freddy's segment and a bunch of other ones. There are actually, I think, 9 different games in this game. Like each one is just one level that's a totally different game. And it's kind of crazy. Also kind of crazy, this movie was done in a total of 3 takes. And so it's pretty impressive that it actually isn't full of weird little mistakes. It's very well done, actually. But once again, terrible acting. And it's a really stupid movie. Like, so stupid. Because, you know, he's playing a video game. And, like, when he fails, there's someone dies. And it's the most nothing. It's just so dumb. There's no words.
Wait, is he actually a Twitch live streamer who plays games who then made a movie about himself, like his thing? Or is this just a movie guy making a movie about someone doing this?
That is an excellent question. After a moment's research, no, he's just a movie maker.
Okay.
So this one's just fun if you're into video games, because you get to see these parodies, and that's kind of fun.
There's also a nice sprinkling of Schadenfreude, perhaps, in that there is a terrible character. And,
oh, yes,
you know, that's always fun when a terrible character exists and they
get Schadenfreuded.
They get Schadenfreuded. Exactly.
Yeah, and just like the whole thing, this guy's playing a Twitch game that's killing people, and he's upset about it. He's like being heroic and like, I won't let you guys die. But overall, he's not nearly concerned enough for what's going on. Like, people are dying and being murdered, and he's like, oh, wow, that's a shame. And like, it's so wrong.
Mm-hmm. I did like that this movie, as kind of ridiculous as it was, it went into some like really deep, authentic conversations about like the need for attention and why we do the things we do. I thought that part was kind of interesting.
Oh, I think you liked this movie.
I barely watched it, but I do remember that there were a few moments where he like really got into like, well, did anybody ever want to know why I do this? And then talked about his trauma, you know, like trauma dumped all over his audience. But
yes, that was very on the nose.
I think that was interesting conversation. It was an interesting conversation. I always like when there's like authentic feeling that comes out. And that is a part of this movie that felt truly authentic. Like that was why he wanted to make the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's kind of about the alienation and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it was still terrible. So I give this 1.5 Schadenfreuds out of 5.
So that brings us to Mystery Box, the Amber Green story from 2023. This sounds like a true crime documentary that I would watch on Hulu.
It might sound that way, but it is not. It's about a girl who orders a mystery box on the internet because it claims, I don't know what it claims, but it's something scary and you can buy it and see what's inside. It turns out there's not much inside because it contains an evil spirit.
Wait, when you say it contains an evil spirit, did they send her an empty box and say, like, there's ghosts in there? Because I feel like we listened to My Brother and Me that was about exactly that.
That we have. But it's not actually empty. It's mostly empty. There's, like, weird little items like a feather or whatever that, are indicative of spiritness.
Okay.
This is all done in the style of like she's YouTubing it, she's vlogging her experience and what's going to happen. And oh my stars, this is so bad. When I was watching this movie, I said to myself, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, which is really saying something.
That is.
And I don't think it's true. I don't think it's that terrible, but just in the moment, the experience of seeing whatever this was just horrendous. It's such bad acting and just complete, again, like the last movie, it's not being concerned enough about what's going on as like furniture is moving around the house and stuff. My note on this movie says, makes Bad Ben look amazing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. This movie, by the way, is 42 minutes long.
Well, I mean, that's a plus, right?
It is. And throughout the movie, there's like, say a chair moves. The girl will see the chair move and then say, oh, did you see that? The chair moved. And then there's text on the screen that says, the chair moved all on its own. And then it goes back and replays in slow motion the chair moving.
Wow.
It's that for the whole time. And that took only 42 minutes. Like nothing happens.
So how would you rate this delightful flick?
I don't feel that I can go lower than 1 for a legitimate movie, for a movie that isn't a crime against humanity. So I give this 1 peanut butter cup out of 5.
Okay. It's good to know it wasn't a crime against humanity.
No, we're getting to that later.
Oh, goody. What comes next?
When I was bored with that movie and looking on IMDb, I noted a review of it that said, and this director made the exact same movie before, same script and all. And so I was like, I have to see that.
Wait, what kind of masochistic behavior is it for you to take a movie that you identified as the worst movie you have ever seen,
but not really,
and then deciding immediately to watch the same movie again, but not really?
I had to see what the deal was. I had to. Plus, it was only 42 minutes.
Okay. So then what was the deal?
The deal with Dybbuk Box, the story of Chris Chambers, you might notice the similar title.
I do sense a pattern.
It's from 2019, so 4 years earlier. It is literally the same movie. They reused the script when they made the Amber Green story, and many of the lines are delivered exactly the same. It's a little different in that the box he gets is like a wax sealed, ancient, evil looking box, which I guess is the tradition of Dybbuk boxes because they showed tons of them.
Wait, did Amber Green just get an Amazon box?
Yeah, hers was just a cardboard box with some items in it, and his was the evil Dybbuk box in a cardboard box.
This is progress. This is the future now.
Except that this was 4 years earlier. So they downgraded.
No, I'm saying everything coming as if it were coming from Amazon is the future now.
That's sad.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, it has the same text displayed, literally same text. I don't think it's just the same font. I think it's the same image of the same text that they just use their editing tool to copy and paste. And, it's like, the chair moved. Did you see that? And here's text saying, the chair moved. It's the same.
Did you also experience the thought, this is the worst movie I've ever seen? Again?
I would actually say this was better, which is really sad that they decided to do it again and do it worse. I don't even understand that.
They needed to update it like everyone else is updating things by giving it a gender flip.
That's exactly what they did. It was like the Ghostbuster ladies, basically same thing. So yeah, this was just as bad. 1 peanut butter cup out of 5.
Okay.
But I'm still glad I did it.
Did you watch a third unboxing film?
Unboxing film? Yeah. No, I didn't. I like the idea that there are unboxing films.
I mean, that's a thing. I am noticing a pattern through all of this where all of these movies are very much dependent on modern technology.
Yes.
And it inspires in me the idea they say write what you know, but when all you know is sitting in your own house on technology, what you know becomes very limited. And I feel like that has not been beneficial to our storytelling process.
I think you're right. And that's sort of, to some extent, it's what I aimed for. Although a lot of times I just watched whatever movie was coming next. I didn't care. But I actually aimed for these live stream, YouTube, vlogger videos because I'm like, that's dumb. That's really stupid. And I'm going to watch all of these, which is why I watched The Wendigo from 2022, which is about influencers. Well, it's about an influencer, super obnoxious one, goes out to the woods alone because he heard about the Wendigo, and he appears to get killed on film. And so now these other sets of competing influencers go out to the woods to go look for him.
I feel like we've seen other movies in the past that were similar, like the idea of competing content creators trying to get to a scary place first. There was one where they were trying to get to some like house out in the desert, wasn't there?
That sounds familiar, but I don't know.
But like, I think that idea of like, there are multiple content creators trying to capitalize on the thing and be the first one to get there, and that's part of the fun of it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, these guys were technically working together. It was like a collab between different creators, but they absolutely despised each other.
I feel like this is a good setup for a scary movie that features the niche tea lady from TikTok.
That would be really fun.
Where the whole thing is told.
And the irate candy bars lady.
I feel like the whole thing being told as her like doing that rapid fire summary of what happened, but with like footage playing would be... Like, it would make for a short film, but it would be those interesting.
Things. Like the irate candy bars lady is getting murdered in her house by a ghost based on candy bars. And the niche tea lady is describing what's going on.
Oh, we could bring in all our favorites. We could have...
I can't remember her name, but everybody's so creative.
That's what I was trying to think of.
His guts are splayed all over the floor, like you should always do.
And then, and then bring in, like dad chats and like, there's all kinds of interesting, your pal Austin, like there's all kinds of interesting things that could be done.
So much.
With our favorite content creators. Okay. Anyway, do you need to tell us more about this movie, or are you ready to rate it?
I mean, they just despise each other. They're reenacting the Blair Witch, going into the woods and kicking maps into the river and all that. The whole movie, really horrific things. I mean, like technically horrific. They don't look horrific because it's terrible effects. But, like people dying and being torn apart and that kind of thing happen with none of them really caring very much. They're like technically upset, but they're like, oh no, that happened. That was my girlfriend. And that's it.
How am I going to create clickable content about my delightful romance if my girlfriend is dead?
Yeah, maybe that's it. They're all so jaded from social media now. It's a commentary. Anyway, it was hilariously stupid and not recommended. 1.5 peanut butter cups out of 5.
Okay. So then you moved on to Something Walks in the Woods from 2023. And what is that one about?
It's self-explanatory, really.
It's just there's woods and something is
walks.
walking in them.
Yes. My absolute favorite thing about this movie is very early on when they show the footage of the thing walking in the woods. The thing that walks in the woods is a pair of white pants, and it just walks like it's got a place to go. It doesn't like spookily drift along. It goes for a walk.
Okay, wait a minute. Is this a horror movie based on my favorite Dr. Seuss story?
It could be. I'm not sure how they came up with it.
There's a Dr. Seuss story in one of his like collection books that's about a pair of pea green pants with nobody inside them. And the whole story is just that this person is like scared of this pair of pants with nobody inside them that is walking around in the gooseberry field or whatever. I don't know. It's Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he realizes that the pants with nobody inside them are just as afraid of him as he is of them, and they become friends.
That sounds a lot scarier than this movie.
Did they not make friends with the white pants?
No.
Oh, no.
But also, so we see the white pants walking, and I'm like, those are white pants walking. And first of all, it's kind of impressive because it's clearly someone wearing white pants walking, but you cannot see anything above the pants. And I'm like, how did they even do that? That's really impressive. It looks like white pants walking through the woods. But on the flip side, I know they didn't mean for it to look like white pants walking through the woods because that's ridiculous.
Wait, what was it supposed to look like then?
It's just like some kind of spirit, like a ghost is going by. And then they show like night vision footage or some kind of, color corrected type thing. And in that, you can see the rest of the person. So now it's just a person walking through the woods wearing white pants.
Maybe, wait, did this movie take place after Labor Day?
I actually don't know. But I get that. That's terrifying.
So scary.
It just the way it walked was like it was going to work. And I kind of expected it to turn out, oh, that's just some guy. Because the whole premise was this thing walks through the woods every day at a certain time. And
yeah, he's commuting.
Just come see it. Yeah, he's commuting to work.
These are commuter pants.
I took out big notes on this one because I was kind of putting it together with everything I've seen. And there's a common bond in all these movies, which is wasting our time. They tell us what's gonna happen. They tell us what did happen. They replay the footage. They make us watch them set things up or discuss what they're gonna do. Like literally huge chunks of this movie are him setting up cameras and going, and now this camera's gonna be here, and I think I'm gonna sleep here tonight, and I'll have cameras in these locations. Like, no, that's not the story. But it is when you only manage to make 81 minutes of movie and you have to fill it with everything you've got because otherwise you're going to end up with a 42-minute movie like the other people.
Yeah.
So this is also the first horror movie I've ever seen where the victim, the main character, calls their wife to pick them up and go home. He's like, no, I'm done with this. Can you pick me up?
I feel like that's a new generation thing too. Yeah. Like Gen Z and younger have grown up suckling at the teat of horror movies.
Indeed.
And they have learned the lessons. Like we keep seeing ads for the Jordan Peele reboot of Scare Tactics. And my favorite part is that one girl who like sees the very first scary thing happen and she's like, nope, I'm leaving. I'm going home. And they're like, no, don't. She's like, no,
no,
absolutely not.
This is bad.
Like, this is how people get murdered. I'm out. And I do feel like people are so much more jaded about horror things and the world is so much closer to a horror movie and has been their whole lives that like, we always joke about how, you don't separate the party and, why don't you just leave? These folks are doing it. The first sign of a horror film and they're like, no, thank you. I'm leaving.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it doesn't make this movie very good. In fact, it was absolutely terrible. And I wish I could go lower than 1, but I can't. So I'm giving it 1 pair of white pants out of 5.
Okay. Question. Did his wife come and pick him up? Did he get out safely? I mean, I guess you can't. You don't want to spoil it, so maybe you can't answer that.
Yeah,
question.
I better not spoil the outcome of that phone call.
Well, now you heard it here, guys. You have to watch Something Walks in the Woods to find out if his wife comes and saves him.
You'll be stunned and amazed by all the exciting special effects in this film.
I actually, having heard you talk about this film now, I kind of want to see it just to see the white pants.
They're right at the beginning, probably first 5 minutes. So we could do that.
Okay. Well, after this, what did you watch next?
13 Sherwood Avenue from 2023, which introduced me to a new concept. I guess it's not really a concept. That there's a guy named Richard Mansfield, I think is his name, who has made a whole bunch of movies that all have the word Sherwood in the title. It's just a fun fact because we watch another one later, which is when I realized that.
Do we know why?
I think he's from Sherwood, which you wouldn't think Sherwood Avenue would be in Sherwood, but he just puts the word Sherwood in the titles.
Wait, so these movies aren't related in any way? It's not like they all take... It's not like Stephen King's like Castle Rock where they all take place in the same universe?
I don't know. I kind of think they all take place in Sherwood, but I have no way to tell. There was no
What's his name?
Bear Sheriff or anything, or Fox Archer.
I like you throwing in a reference to everyone's favorite Disney movie from my childhood.
Richard Mansfield?
Oh, he also puts the word Mansfield. I think so. Because I just pulled up a list. He has House on Mansfield Street, The Mansfield Ghost, 13 Sherwood Avenue, The House in Sherwood, A Haunting in Sherwood, The House on Mansfield Street 2.
Wow. Okay. So Mansfield and Sherwood.
Uh-huh.
Basically what we're saying is most movies are by this guy.
Yes, that is my takeaway. Okay, well, so what happens at 13 Sherwood Avenue?
Well, this is all very modern because this is about a guy who got like an Alexa thing, full home automation system where you talk to it and say, oh, turn the lights on and play my playlist. He says that a lot. And one of my complaints about this movie is that literally for the entire course of the movie, he does nothing that doesn't involve his home automation system, which is called Vibe. And it's like, play this thing. Like if he wants to watch TV, he's like, Vibe, play whatever video for me. And the alarm he has to set. And just every scene is just him interacting with the robot. But of course, there's evil afoot. There's some sort of ghost. The Vibe is sort of evil because it's like telling him things. It's narrating what's going to happen to him in the future. Murder and death, potentially, which is exciting. And what I noted on this one, as compared to all these previous movies, this is much more creative and fun. Like all of those were just like, I want to make a horror movie, so I'm going to do the basic thing. I'm going to go out in the woods and get killed. Like that's it. And this is a much more creative concept. I guess Live Scream was too, but I was inundated with all these movies that are just the most generic horror concepts. And this was more inventive. Like the thing was narrating how he was going to die, and it was weird. I have a couple of fun remarks about this movie.
Okay.
My favorite is every time the Vibe couldn't do something, like he was like, oh, please, turn the lights on because, it was a scary time and the lights were all switched off for no reason. And it was like, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're doing. Powering off. It would just turn off every time it was unable to do something. He's like, Google this thing for me. And it was like, I can't find anything. Powering off.
I give up. Like, I feel you, Vibe. I do.
It would just give up every time. And then the other thing that was a concern to me, it's just a rant. In fact, I wrote down face detection rant. Because a bunch of horror movies have used this device where, face detection systems on video light up on a ghost. Like there's nothing there, but the square that shows where faces are is there. Mm-hmm. This makes me angry.
Why?
Because it's based on a magical understanding of technology. Like, ooh, it knows where faces are. No, it looks at an image and sees if it looks like a face. Mm-hmm. So if the ghost is invisible, face detection is not going to see it. And so you get these things where it's like, it's put a square there. Based on what? It's all black pixels. There's no reason for a face.
Devil's advocate.
The devil is evil.
Okay. Maybe it's because the technology is able to see things that the human eye can't see. So the technology is identifying face shapes in that space where we see nothing because it's like infrared or ultraviolet or, some other thing we can't see.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. You got me.
It's stupid and I hate it. And secondarily, it's meant to be scary, like, ooh, something has popped up behind him and is going to get him. But it involves literally putting a square on the screen in bright color of, here's the ghost, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do in a horror movie.
Agreed. It's dumb.
Thanks.
I was briefly, I flickered in and out of that movie like a ghost.
Like a ghost.
No, but I was watching that on occasion, and I saw a couple of those things and some of the scary things that were happening. And I wanted it to be one where it was one of those things where two people have phased out of sync with each other.
Ooh, yeah.
And where the vibe was detecting a face because in the other phase, the other person was walking around and was doing things, and that's why doors were opening and closing and stuff. That's what I wanted. It was not that.
Yes.
But that would have been fun.
And that's a good point about what's going on in this movie. The way it wraps up is like, I was expecting a certain something that didn't happen and was really hinted at and would have been interesting. And then instead it was just bleh.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was super disappointing. But, I mean, superior to a lot of the previous movies and a gracious 2 out of 5 peanut butter cups from me.
Ooh, a high scorer for the day.
Huge.
Okay. So you move on from this delightful film to The Unbinding from 2023. Did it keep the high standards going?
No. Hey, friends. This is Mike from the future, but not your future. That would be impossible, obviously. I'm coming from the future of when that was recorded, but your past. And I'm telling you, that's where we're going to leave this one for now, on that stunning cliffhanger moment. And a second part will be coming next week because there were just way too many movies to cover in 1 week. See you then. No.